The sun of Varelia burned bright over the crystal towers of the royal palace. Its light reflected on the silver streets below, casting colors that seemed almost alive. People walked quickly, their attention on the palace gates. Rumors had spread across the city like wildfire. Something important was about to happen. Everyone could feel it. Inside the grand hall, King Torn sat on his throne. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes shone like liquid silver. He looked older than he really was, and yet there was a strength in his posture that no one could ignore. The hall was filled with nobles, advisors, and palace guards. The air was tense. The king's voice rang out clearly, commanding silence. "Today, I make a decree," the king said. His voice was calm, yet it carried power that made everyone listen. "One of my daughters will marry a human. This union will bring our worlds closer and strengthen our people." A murmur went through the crowd. "A human in Varelia?" Some gasped. In shock, others whispered in disbelief. The king's daughters Lyra, Sora, and Nema stood before him. Their expressions were different, each one showing her own feelings. Lyra's eyes widened with curiosity. She had always loved learning about other worlds. A human might be strange, but it was also exciting. Sora frowned. She had never liked the idea of outsiders interfering with Varelia's traditions. To her, humans were unpredictable and dangerous. Nema tilted her head and smiled slightly, hiding her thoughts. She was not afraid of humans, but she did not like being told what to do. The king continued. "The human's name is Kale. He is an ambassador from Earth. His people are different from ours, but they have skills and knowledge that can benefit Varelia. This marriage is not just a personal matter. It is a duty to our people. You will all meet him soon. He will stay in our palace for the next week. After that, the choice of marriage will be made." The princesses looked at each other. Lyra tried to hide her excitement. Sora's jaw tightened. Nema kept her smile. The crowd watched silently, curious about how the daughters would react. "Your Majesty," said an advisor, stepping forward, "some may question this decision. Humans are not like us. Their habits, their ways, may cause unrest." King Torn nodded. "I am aware of that. That is why I am testing not only the human, but also my daughters. This union must be built on trust, understanding, and respect. If any of you cannot accept this duty, you may step aside. But know this, the one who accepts it will not just marry a human. She will become a symbol of our alliance with a new world." The hall was silent again. Everyone understood the weight of the words. It was rare for the king to speak so openly about duty and responsibility. Most of the nobles knew that the king's decisions were final, but this time it felt different. Something had changed. Later, in the private chambers, the princesses gathered. The room was decorated with soft lights and floating orbs that glowed gently. Lyra paced slowly, her mind full of questions. "A human, really? I never thought I would see this day. What is he like? Will he understand us? Will he respect our customs?" Sora crossed her arms. "We do not need humans. We have everything we need here. Why should we let an outsider interfere with our lives? I do not want to marry someone who cannot understand our people." Nema leaned against the window, looking at the city below. "Father has made his choice. We cannot stop him, but we can decide how we respond. I am not afraid of humans, and I am not afraid of change. Perhaps this Kale is not as strange as we think." Their conversation was interrupted by a messenger. "Your Highnesses," he said, bowing, "Ambassador Kale has arrived. He requests an audience with you." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Finally," she whispered. Sora's frown deepened. Nema simply nodded. The three princesses entered the reception hall. Kale was already there. He looked different from anyone they had ever seen. His skin was light, his hair dark, and his eyes a deep brown. He wore simple clothing, yet his posture and the calm expression on his face made him seem confident. King Torn introduced him. "Princesses, this is Kale. He comes in peace and with respect for our customs. Treat him as a guest of Varelia." Kale bowed politely. "Princesses, it is an honor to meet you. I have heard much about Varelia and its people. I hope to learn from all of you." His voice was gentle but firm. There was no fear in him. Lyra stepped forward first. "Welcome to Varelia, Kale. I hope your stay here is pleasant. I would love to show you some of our libraries and the gardens. They are quite unique." Kale smiled. "I would be honored, Princess Lyra. I have always loved learning. Your world is beautiful." Sora's expression did not soften. "Do you know what it means to marry into our royal family?" she asked sharply. "It is not just about being a guest. It is a lifetime duty, not a choice." Kale nodded. "I understand the responsibility. I did not come here lightly. I know this is not just a personal matter, but one that affects your people." Nima observed quietly. "You speak with respect," she said softly. "Many humans do. Not. Perhaps you are different." The conversation ended as the king signaled, "Tomorrow, the formal trials will begin. These trials are meant to test character, wisdom, and courage. You will see if Kale is truly fit to be a part of our world. Prepare yourselves." That night, the princesses could not sleep. Each thought about the human who had entered their lives. So suddenly, Lyra imagined adventures with Kale, exploring the city and learning new things. Sora worried about the dangers of trusting someone so different. Nima considered the possibilities. Change was coming, whether they liked it or not, and each of them had to decide how they would face it. Outside, the city lights glimmered under the twin moons. Somewhere among the towers and gardens, Kale walked alone for a moment. He looked up at the stars, wondering what challenges awaited him. One thing was certain: his rival had set a chain of events in motion, and nothing in Varelia would ever be the same again. The week ahead would test loyalty, courage, and understanding. And at the center of it all was a human who had stepped into a world unlike any he had known. The next morning, the palace of Varelia was alive with movement. Servants hurried through the halls carrying trays of food, and palace guards moved silently along the corridors. The princesses prepared themselves for the day. Lyra chose a flowing green gown that shimmered like the forest leaves. Sora wore a deep blue robe that showed her seriousness, and Nima selected a soft purple outfit that reflected her calm nature. Kale was already awake in his guest chamber. The room was spacious and decorated with alien furniture he had never seen before. Floating lights glowed gently in the corners, and windows showed the city beneath. Kale had spent the night thinking about his first meeting with the princesses. He wanted to be respectful, but he also knew he must be confident. He took a deep breath and prepared himself for what was coming. A soft knock came at the door. "Ambassador Kale, the princesses are ready to meet you," said a palace aide. Kale nodded and followed her down the long hallway. The walls were made of a shimmering crystal material that reflected the morning sunlight, casting soft colors across the floor. People passed quietly, bowing as he walked by. He felt the weight of attention, but he remained calm. The princesses waited in the central hall. When Kale entered, each of them studied him carefully. Lyra's eyes sparkled with curiosity. She wanted to know everything about this human. Sora's expression was unreadable, but Kale could sense her judgment. Nima simply watched quietly, observing his reactions. King Torrent spoke first. "Today, Kale will spend the day with my daughters. He will learn about our customs, our history, and our people. In turn, the princesses will learn about him. This is a day of understanding. Treat it seriously." Kale bowed respectfully. "Yes, Your Majesty, I will do my best." The first stop was the royal library. Towering shelves held books, scrolls, and devices that recorded the knowledge of Varelia for centuries. Lyra moved quickly, showing Kale some of the most interesting items. "This device records stories from our ancestors," Lyra said. "It is said that every human and Varelian will find a lesson in these stories. Perhaps you will discover something new." Kale leaned closer to examine the device. He pressed a button, and soft images appeared, showing scenes of battles, discoveries, and celebrations from long ago. He watched carefully, impressed by the depth of Varelian history. "Your people have preserved knowledge very well," he said. "On Earth, we try, but we often lose much over time. This is remarkable." Lyra smiled. "I thought you might like it. Humans are clever in different ways, but here, knowledge is protected carefully." Sora remained standing quietly at the edge of the room. She did not speak, but Kale could feel her skepticism. Nima moved closer, asking gentle questions. "What is your home like?" she asked. Kale described his city on Earth. He spoke about tall buildings, busy streets, and the wide variety of people. He told them about simple pleasures, like walking in a park or tasting new foods. Lyra listened eagerly, fascinated by his words. Sora crossed her arms, frowning. Nima nodded slowly, imagining a world so different from her own. After the library, they walked to the gardens. The royal gardens were enormous, filled with glowing plants and trees that bent softly when touched. Streams of clear water ran through the paths, and small creatures with wings flitted among the flowers. "This is one of my favorite places," Lyra said. "It is peaceful here, and it shows the beauty of Verelia's nature. I want you to see it." Kale knelt to look at a glowing flower. "It is beautiful," he said. "I have never seen anything like it. Your people must care deeply for this land." "Very deeply," Lyra replied. "We learn respect from the moment we are born. Nature, history, and knowledge are all connected here." Sora walked ahead, clearly bored with the small talk. Nima stayed close to Kale, curious about his reactions. They reached a small bridge over a stream. Kale paused to watch the water. He noticed the way the princesses moved, the way they spoke, and the way they observed him. He realized that this was not just a test of knowledge, it was a test of character. "Princess Sora," Kale said politely, turning to her, "I know we are very different, but I want to understand your world, not change it. I hope we can learn from each other." Sora looked at him. For a long moment, she did not answer. She wanted to challenge him, but was unsure if he could be trusted. Kale's calm and respectful tone surprised her. For a moment, she wondered if humans were stronger than she thought. Nima spoke softly. "It is not easy to meet a new world and try to fit in. You are brave to do this." Kale smiled. "I have to be. I cannot change who I am, but I can respect your ways and try to help wherever I can." The day continued with more lessons and observations. Kale learned about Verelian music. Trying to play a simple instrument with guidance from Lyra, he studied patterns of light in the palace halls and discussed ancient history with Nima. Sora remained distant but could not hide her attention when Kale solved a problem that even the palace scholars struggled with. As the sun began to set, the princesses gathered in a quiet courtyard. Lanterns floated in the air, casting soft lights over the marble floor. Lyra turned to Kale. "You have learned a lot today, more than I expected. I think you may understand us better than some humans I have met before." Kale bowed. "Thank you, Princess Lyra. I try my best. I want to be ready for the challenges ahead." Sora remained silent but watched him carefully. Nima smiled faintly. "Tomorrow will be harder," she said. "The trials will begin, and you must show more than respect and curiosity. You must prove your courage, intelligence, and heart." Kale nodded. "I understand. I am ready to do whatever I can to earn trust and respect. I will not fail." The princesses left him in the courtyard, and Kale watched the twin moons rise over the palace towers. The night air was cool, and the soft lights of the city glimmered below. He thought about the week ahead, the challenges, and the responsibilities. This was not just about winning favor or surviving the trials. It was about understanding, respect, and bridging worlds that had never met before. Somewhere deep in the palace, King Torn watched from a balcony. He smiled slightly. Kale was calm, thoughtful, and strong. Perhaps this human would rise to the occasion. Perhaps one of his daughters would see what he already had seen of courage and determination. That was rare, even among the strongest of Virelians. Tomorrow, the real test would begin, and Kale knew that the journey would not be easy. Yet, as he looked at the glowing city below, he felt a spark of hope. One human had entered this world, and perhaps, just perhaps, he could change it for the better. The morning sun rose over the palace of Verelia, casting golden light across the silver towers. Today was not a normal day. Today, the formal trials would begin. The trials were designed to test Kale's courage, intelligence, and understanding of Verelian ways. The princesses would also face their own challenges. Each trial would reveal not only Kale's character, but also their willingness to accept change. Kale woke early, his heart steady but his mind alert. He had spent the previous day learning about the palace, the city, and the princesses. Now, he would face the real tests. He dressed carefully, choosing simple attire that allowed him to move freely. The palace aides guided him to the central hall where the princesses waited. Lyra smiled when she saw him. "Are you ready, Kale?" she asked. Kale nodded. "I'm ready. I hope to do my best." Sora's expression remained serious. "You must understand that these trials are not simple games," she said. "They test everything about you: strength, intelligence, patience, and honor. If you fail, it will be clear that a human cannot be trusted in our world." Nima looked at him thoughtfully. "Do not fear the trials. They are meant to teach, not just challenge. Sometimes the greatest lesson comes from failure." King Torn entered the hall, his silver eyes calm but sharp. "The first trial will test courage and quick thinking," he announced. "Kale, you will enter the labyrinth of light inside. You will face illusions and obstacles designed to test your bravery and your mind. The princesses will observe but not intervene. Trust your instincts and your heart." Kale took a deep breath and stepped forward. The labyrinth of light was a large chamber filled with shifting walls and glowing paths. The walls changed shape constantly, and the light could be both dazzling and confusing. Kale moved carefully, watching the patterns and listening to his own thoughts. Lyra watched from above, fascinated. "He moves carefully, yet confidently," she said to Nima. Nima nodded. "He is learning quickly. Observe his focus. That is rare in humans." Sora crossed her arms. "We will see if courage is enough. Many have entered the labyrinth and failed because they were clever, but not brave." Inside the labyrinth, Kale faced illusions that tested his mind. Shadows of strange creatures appeared, sounds of cries echoed through the halls, and pathways shifted as he moved. He remembered the lessons he had learned from the princesses. Respect, patience, and careful observation were as important as bravery. He paused when a shadowy figure appeared in front of him. It seemed real, yet he sensed it was an illusion. He spoke firmly. "I will not be afraid of false things. I will move forward with truth in my heart." He stepped around the figure, which dissolved into light. Meanwhile, the princesses continued to watch. Sora's frown deepened. She had expected Kale to hesitate, but he seemed calm even in danger. Lyra whispered, "He is different from what I imagined. Not reckless, not fearful, just aware." Nima smiled faintly. "Yes, he understands more than he shows. Courage is not just fighting. It is knowing when to act and when to wait." Kale reached the center of the labyrinth. A large crystal blocked the path. Light radiated from it in a dazzling pattern. He could see his reflection multiplied many times in the crystal walls. The final test was not strength or speed, but clarity of mind. He focused, recalling everything he had learned: respect, patience, courage, and understanding guided his thoughts. Slowly, he touched the crystal. The light softened, and the walls rearranged, creating a clear path to the exit. Kale walked through calmly, completing the first trial. The princesses smiled slightly. Even Sora's expression softened for a moment. He passed the trial. She admitted quietly. King Torin nodded from his seat. "The first trial is complete. Kale has shown courage, patience, and focus. Tomorrow, he will face the second trial. This trial will test understanding and adaptability. He must work with the princesses to solve a challenge that none can complete alone." Kale returned to the royal chambers, where Lyra greeted him enthusiastically. "That was incredible. You faced illusions and fear, yet you remained calm." Kale smiled. "I could not do it without thinking carefully and remembering what I learned yesterday. Your guidance helped me more than you know." Sora still seemed reserved. "Do not assume the trials are over. Many challenges lie ahead. You have done well, but the next will be more difficult." Nima walked beside him. "Each trial teaches something different. The first tested courage. The next will test your heart and mind together. Be ready." The day ended with a quiet dinner in the palace. Kale ate carefully, observing the customs and trying to understand the unspoken rules. The princesses did not speak much, but their eyes often watched him, trying to measure his character. Later, Kale walked alone in the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected in the streams, and the floating lanterns glimmered gently. He thought about the labyrinth, the illusions, and the lessons he had learned. It was not easy to enter a world so different from his own. Yet he felt a small sense of accomplishment. Somewhere above, King Torn observed him. The human is strong, but not without humility. That is rare. He may yet succeed where others fail. As Kale sat by a stream, he realized that this was only the beginning. The trials would become harder, testing not only his abilities, but also the princesses' hearts. He wondered how each of them would respond. Lyra seemed excited by his presence. Sora remained cautious, perhaps even distrustful. Nema seemed thoughtful, considering possibilities beyond simple rules. Kale knew that winning a trial was not enough. He had to understand the world around him, earn trust, and show respect for all the traditions of Aurelia. Only then could he hope to succeed tomorrow. The second trial would begin. It would challenge cooperation, intelligence, and understanding. Kale prepared himself mentally, knowing that failure was not an option, not because he feared it, but because he wanted to honor the people of Aurelia, the king, and the princesses who watched him so closely. In the quiet night, the palace seemed calm, but everyone knew that the week ahead would change everything. Kale had entered a world full of wonder, challenges, and possibilities, and in the hearts of the princesses, thoughts of this human guest were beginning to grow in unexpected ways. The first trial was complete, but the journey had only just begun. The morning sun glowed over the palace of Aurelia, painting the silver towers with soft light. Kale stood in the central courtyard, waiting for the second trial. Unlike the first trial, which had tested courage and focus, this one would test cooperation and understanding. It was a challenge that required teamwork, not just individual skill. King Torn appeared at the entrance to the courtyard, flanked by the princesses. His presence commanded silence and attention. "Today, Kale," he said, "you will face the trial of cooperation. You must work with my daughters to solve a series of challenges. Only together can you succeed. This trial will show whether you can adapt and respect the strengths of others." Kale nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will do my best." Lyra's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Finally, a chance for us to see how well you can work with us," she said. Sora crossed her arms. Skeptical as ever, "Do not assume. This will be easy. Humans often struggle to cooperate with those who are different from them. We will see if you are truly capable." Nema stepped forward calmly. "Remember, Kale, this trial is about understanding each other. Listen carefully and think clearly. You may need patience more than strength." The group moved to a large chamber filled with complex machines, glowing panels, and pathways that twisted in unusual patterns. The first challenge was a puzzle that required all four participants to work together. Panels lit up with colors, and symbols appeared in sequences. Each symbol had a meaning, and only by coordinating their actions could they unlock the next stage. Lyra immediately stepped forward, pointing at the symbols. "Kale, you press this panel when I give the signal. Sora, you follow my lead on the next symbol. Nema, focus on the timing. If we work together, we can unlock it quickly." Kale studied the panels carefully. He noticed that some symbols appeared and disappeared quickly, requiring sharp observation and fast action. He nodded. "I understand. I will follow your instructions closely." Sora frowned but obeyed. "I still think this is too easy. The real challenge will come soon," she muttered. Nima watched silently, analyzing both Kale and her sisters. "Patience is as important as speed," she said softly. "Do not rush." The first sequence began. Kale pressed the panels exactly as Lyra instructed. Sora moved with precision, and Nema timed the sequences perfectly. Slowly, the symbols began to glow steadily, showing that they were aligned correctly. Finally, the last panel lit up, and a door opened to the next stage. "Good," Lyra said, smiling at Kale. "You adapted quickly. That shows you are ready for more complex challenges." Sora did not smile, but her eyes showed a hint of respect. Do not celebrate yet. The next stage will test your thinking more than your speed. The next stage of the trial led them into a chamber filled with moving platforms over a deep chasm. Some platforms moved fast, others slowly, and a few changed direction unexpectedly. Across the room, a control panel displayed symbols that indicated the order in which they should step. Kale studied the platforms carefully. We need to move together, step by step. Timing is important, or someone may fall. Lyra nodded. Exactly. Watch each other and communicate. We must trust one another. They began to cross the platforms. Kale moved carefully, following Lyra's signals. Sora took a slightly different approach, observing the patterns before moving. Nema guided them quietly, pointing out safe paths and warning of changes. The group moved as one, adjusting to the shifting platforms. At one point, a platform began to tilt unexpectedly. Kale grabbed Nema's arm to steady himself, and Sora extended her hand to help Lyra. The cooperation surprised all of them. Even Sora's frown softened slightly as they worked together to navigate the final platforms. When they reached the far side, the chamber doors opened automatically. The next stage awaited a test of intelligence and problem-solving. A large table stood in the center of the room, covered with pieces of a mechanical device. This is the final stage. King Torn's voice echoed from above. You must assemble the device correctly. It requires logic, observation, and teamwork. Only by combining your skills can you succeed. Kale examined the pieces. They were complex, with moving parts, gears, and glowing connectors. He looked to Lyra. Do you have experience with this kind of mechanism? Lyra smiled. Somewhat. I know the principles, but I will need help to assemble it perfectly. Sora studied the device carefully. This is more complicated than it looks. One mistake could ruin the whole assembly. Nema stayed calm, analyzing the pieces. We should assign tasks. Kale, focus on connecting the gears. Lyra, check alignment. Sora, manage timing. I will oversee the overall structure. They began to work, moving carefully and communicating constantly. Kale adjusted the gears. Lyra checked the alignment. Sora managed the timing of connections, and Nema directed them when adjustments were needed. Slowly, the device came together. Finally, the last piece clicked into place. The device hummed with energy, lights glowing along its surface. The chamber doors opened, signaling the completion of the trial. King Torn appeared, a small smile on his face. The trial of cooperation is complete, Kale. You have shown intelligence, adaptability, and respect. You have worked well with the princesses and demonstrated understanding beyond your years. This is rare in any human. Lyra clapped her hands, clearly pleased. You did it, Kale. You worked with all of us perfectly. Sora's expression softened, though she did not smile fully. You may have potential after all. I still do not trust easily, but you have surprised me. Nema nodded thoughtfully. The trial was not just about the device or platforms. It was about understanding, communication, and respect. You passed. In all aspects, Kale bowed politely. Thank you, princesses. I could not have done it alone. Your guidance and cooperation made it possible. The princesses walked with Kale back to the palace chambers. Lyra chatted happily. Sora remained quiet but thoughtful, and Nema analyzed the lessons learned. Kale reflected on the trial. He realized that cooperation required not just listening, but understanding the strengths and weaknesses of others. It was a valuable lesson, one he knew would help in the challenges to come. That night, Kale sat alone in the gardens, looking at the twin moons above. He thought about the trials and the princesses. Each had her own way of seeing the world. Lyra was curious and open, Sora was cautious and skeptical, and Nema was calm and wise. Together, they were strong, and together they had shown him a new way of thinking. The palace was quiet, but Kale's mind was active. The trials had begun, but he knew there were more challenges ahead. He would need courage, intelligence, and cooperation again. But he also realized that he had begun to earn the respect of the princesses. And perhaps, in time, their trust. King Torn watched from the balcony above. Kale is proving himself, he thought, but the greatest challenges are still to come. Strength, courage, and cooperation are important. Yet the heart must also be tested. Kale stood in the garden, feeling a sense of calm determination. The second trial was complete. But he knew the journey was far from over. He had learned a lot. But the real test would be to face the trials ahead with wisdom, patience, and a true understanding of the world around him. The morning light in Varelia shimmered across the palace towers, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of flowering trees. Kale awoke with a sense of anticipation. Today was the third trial, the trial of trust. This trial was said to be the hardest, because it tested not just skill or courage, but the heart and mind. It would reveal whether Kale could truly earn the princess's confidence, and whether they could trust him in return. King Torrhen summoned Kale and the princesses to the central hall. The room was silent as he spoke. The trial of trust is different. From the previous trials, you will face challenges where you must rely on one another completely. Kale, the princesses will judge not only your actions, but also your intentions. Trust is earned through honesty, respect, and consistency. Lyra stepped forward, her face bright. This trial sounds exciting. Finally, a way to see what he is truly made of. Sora remained serious. Trust is not given lightly. We will observe carefully. One mistake could show a lack of integrity. Nima's voice was calm as ever. Kale, remember that this trial is about understanding and sincerity. Your actions must match your words. The group was led to a large chamber with a high ceiling, decorated with floating orbs of light. At the center was a platform surrounded by a shallow pool of crystal-clear water. On the platform stood a wooden box, locked with a complex mechanism. A voice echoed through the chamber. To succeed, Kale and the princesses must retrieve the key from the box. Only complete trust in each other will allow the task to succeed. Doubt or deception will fail the trial. Kale approached the platform carefully. How do we start? He asked. Lyra looked at the box. I think we must work together. Someone must operate the mechanism while others guide carefully. Communication will be key. Sora's eyes narrowed. We cannot rely on guesses. Kale, you must show us that you are honest. Any attempt to deceive will fail the trial. Kale nodded. I understand. I will act openly and carefully. I will follow your guidance and speak honestly. Nima examined the box. There are 3 steps. Each step requires trust between the person moving the parts and the one giving instructions. Kale, you will operate the mechanism. The princesses will guide you. Kale stepped forward. The mechanism was delicate, with moving levers and tiny symbols that shifted as he touched them. Lyra gave directions clearly. Move the left lever slowly. Then turn the top dial to match the symbol on the wall. Kale followed her instructions, but the mechanism resisted. He hesitated, unsure of the next step. Sora spoke firmly. Do not panic. Trust your guidance and continue carefully. Any hesitation shows doubt. Kale took a deep breath and focused. He realized that the trial was not about skill alone. It was about showing faith in the guidance he received and acting with confidence. Slowly, he adjusted the lever, turned the dial, and a faint click echoed through the chamber. The first step was complete. The princesses nodded, impressed by his calm approach. Lyra smiled. You are listening and following exactly. That is what trust requires. Sora's frown softened slightly. Do not relax too soon. The second step will test sincerity and attention. You must understand intentions, not just actions. The second step involved a challenge of emotion. The orbs of light above began to glow in different colors. Reflecting Kel's and the princess's thoughts, a voice said, each orb represents a feeling. Only by understanding each other's emotions can the correct sequence be chosen. Misunderstanding will cause failure. Kale looked at the glowing orbs. He sensed hesitation in Sora's eyes, excitement in Lyra's, and calm observation in Nima's. He realized that he must pay attention to the feelings behind their actions, not just the words. He began with Lyra. You seem excited and curious about this challenge. I think the first orb should be guided by your energy. Lyra nodded. Yes, that feels right. Now, Sora. Kale turned to Sora. You are cautious, testing me. I think the orb representing patience should follow your lead. Sora's eyes widened slightly, a hint of surprise in her expression. You understand more than I thought. Proceed with care. Finally, Kale turned to Nima. You are calm and observant. Your orb should guide the final step, steady and precise. Nima smiled faintly. You are learning to read people, Kale. That is rare and valuable. The orbs glowed brightly and aligned, revealing the final part of the mechanism. Kale carefully moved the last lever. The box opened, revealing a golden key inside. The princesses approached, impressed. Lyra clapped her hands. You did it. You understood our actions and feelings. Sora nodded, a small smile forming. You have shown sincerity and understanding. That is not easy. Trust is not given lightly. But you have earned it here. Nima stepped closer. This trial was about seeing beyond appearances, about observing and respecting each other's strengths and emotions. You succeeded, Kale. King Torrent appeared above them, his silver eyes calm. The trial of trust is complete. Kale has shown that he can act honestly, respect the princesses, and understand their intentions. This is a rare quality, not only in humans but in any being. Kale bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. I could not have succeeded without the guidance and trust of the princesses. The princesses walked with Kale back to the palace chambers. Lyra chatted happily, praising his efforts. Sora remained thoughtful but seemed more open than before. Nima analyzed quietly. Pleased with the results, that evening, Kale sat alone in the palace gardens. The moonlight reflected on the streams, and the air was filled with the soft hum of night insects. He thought about the trials, the princesses, and the lessons he had learned. Trust was not something earned instantly. It required patience, understanding, and consistent action. He had begun to earn it, but he knew the journey was far from over. Above, King Torrent observed from a balcony. Kale has shown heart, courage, and intelligence. He thought, the next trials will test emotions, choices, and the deepest parts of character. Only then will we see the true measure of this human. Kale looked at the night sky and felt determination. He had passed the trial of trust, but he understood that each trial was not just a test of skill, but a chance to grow and understand the world of Varelia and its people. The journey was far from over, and the challenges ahead would be even greater. But Kale felt ready. His heart was open, his mind alert, and his spirit calm. He would face whatever came next with courage, respect, and a desire to learn. The palace was quiet, yet filled with anticipation. The princesses had begun to see Kale as more than a guest. He was becoming someone they could rely on, someone who could face challenges with honesty and bravery. Tomorrow, the fourth trial would begin. It would be a test not only of skill and trust, but of creativity and courage in the face of the unknown. Kale was ready, knowing that each step brought him closer to understanding the world of Varelia and the hearts of the princesses. The sun rose over Varelia, casting golden light on the towering spires of the palace. Kale woke with a mixture of excitement and tension. The next trial was the trial of courage, and it was known as the hardest of all. Unlike the previous trials, which tested skill, cooperation, or trust, this trial would challenge fear, determination, and the ability to act when the outcome was uncertain. King Torrent summoned Kale and the princesses to the palace courtyard. The space had been transformed into a strange arena. Mist swirled around floating rocks, and glowing pathways led to a large portal at the far end. Shadows moved in the fog, making the space feel alive and unpredictable. King Torrent's voice echoed across the courtyard. The trial of courage is designed to reveal true strength of heart. Kale, you will face unknown dangers. You will need to act decisively and remain steadfast even when fear tries to sway you. The princesses will observe your courage and your ability to protect others. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes shining with curiosity. This looks thrilling. Kale, you must show us your bravery, not just for yourself, but for all of us. Sora's gaze was serious. Bravery is not just boldness, it is restraint, awareness, and the ability to act wisely. Do not mistake recklessness for courage. Nima nodded quietly. Observe carefully. Kale, Courage without understanding can lead to failure. Think before action, but act when needed. Kale took a deep breath. I understand. I will face this trial with my mind and heart focused. I will protect the princesses and do my best. The portal shimmered, and a voice spoke from within it. Step forward, Kale. The trial begins now. Only by facing your fears and guiding others will you succeed. Kale led the princesses onto the glowing pathway. The mist thickened, and strange sounds echoed around them. Shadows moved quickly, appearing as creatures of unknown form. Kale felt a twinge of fear, but remembered King Torn's words. Courage was not absence of fear, but action despite it. Suddenly, a shadow lunged at them. Kale stepped forward, raising his hands. He noticed that the shadows did not attack physically. They seemed to react to emotion. Kale remained calm and focused, and the shadow passed without harm. Lyra followed closely behind, her hands trembling slightly but her eyes bright with determination. It seems the shadows test our fear. If we stay calm, we are safe, she said. Sora's eyes scanned the surroundings. Do not become careless. The shadows can change. Observe their patterns and act carefully. Nima guided them silently, pointing out safe paths and warning of areas where the mist was thickest. Kale realized that courage also meant protecting others and making careful choices. The pathway led to a cliff overlooking a glowing chasm. Across the gap, a series of floating stones formed a path, but they moved unpredictably. Kale looked at the princesses. We must cross carefully, follow my lead, and trust each other. Lyra nodded, stepping onto the first stone with confidence. Sora hesitated but followed, watching Kale's movements closely. Nima moved with calm precision, guiding them across. Kale focused on timing, adjusting his steps to match the floating stone's movements. Halfway across, a stone tilted sharply. Lyra slipped slightly, and Kale reached out, catching her hand just in time. Hold on, he said firmly. We can do this together. Sora's eyes widened, and for the first time, she allowed herself to smile slightly. You are proving your courage not just in action, but in protecting others. That is true bravery. They continued, crossing the final stones safely. Beyond the chasm, the mist cleared, revealing a large chamber filled with glowing crystals. At the center stood a pedestal with a glowing orb. A voice spoke again. This orb represents the courage within. Only by reaching it without fear or hesitation can you complete the trial. Kale stepped forward first. The crystals pulsed and moved, forming obstacles in his path. Shadows appeared again, testing his resolve. He felt fear rising, but he remembered the lessons of the previous trials. Courage meant understanding, protecting, and acting with calm determination. He moved carefully, avoiding the obstacles and guiding the princesses. Lyra followed with energy and optimism, Sora with precision and observation, and Nima with calm guidance. Together, they moved as a group, facing each challenge with focus. Finally, Kale reached the pedestal. He placed his hand on the orb, and a warm light filled the chamber. The shadows dissipated, the crystals glowed steadily, and the orb floated gently into Kale's hands. The trial was complete. King Torn appeared, his expression calm but approving. The trial of courage is complete. Kale has shown bravery, wisdom, and the ability to protect others even in the face of fear. He has acted with heart and mind, proving that courage is not reckless action, but careful strength in adversity. Lyra clapped her hands, smiling widely. You did it, Kale. That was amazing. You kept us safe and stayed strong when it mattered most. Sora's serious expression softened. You have shown true courage, not only in action, but in protecting and guiding others. That is rare in any being. Nima nodded. Courage is more than bravery. It is understanding, focus, and care. You have demonstrated all these qualities. Kale bowed respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty, princesses. I could not have succeeded without your guidance and trust. Together, we overcame this challenge. The princesses walked with Kale back to the palace chambers, each reflecting on the trial. Lyra's energy and optimism made her praise his actions. Constantly, Sora, though quieter, seemed more open and thoughtful. Nima observed silently. Satisfied with the results, that night, Kale sat in the palace gardens, gazing at the stars. He felt a deep sense of accomplishment but knew that the final trial awaited. The trial of courage had tested his strength, focus, and ability to act in fear. But the last challenge would test the choices of the heart. And the true bond between him and the princesses? King Torn watched from a balcony above. Kale has proven intelligence, cooperation, trust, and courage, he thought. The final trial will test the heart, and it will determine whether he is ready for the path ahead. Kale looked at the moonlit sky, feeling determination. He had grown with each trial, learning about courage, trust, and cooperation. The journey was far from over, but he was ready for the challenges ahead. The final trial would test everything he had learned, and he was prepared to face it with wisdom, heart, and bravery. The palace was quiet under the moonlight, yet alive with anticipation. Kale had begun to earn the respect and trust of the princesses, and perhaps something more. Tomorrow, the final trial would begin, and it would be a test unlike any before. Kale was ready to face it, knowing that his courage would guide him and the princesses through the challenges ahead. The palace of Varelia shone under the morning sun, casting long reflections on the crystal-clear lakes that surrounded it. Kale felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today would be the final trial, the trial of the heart. This trial would test not only his courage and skill but his choices, emotions, and the connections he had built with the princesses. King Torn called Kale and the princesses to the grand hall. The room was filled with soft golden light. At the center was a large, circular platform that glowed faintly. Above it, shimmering lights formed images of mountains, forests, oceans, and stars. Representing the world outside the palace, King Torn's voice resonated through the hall. The trial of the heart will test your mind, your spirit, and your relationships. Kale, you must demonstrate understanding, compassion, and wisdom. Your choices will affect the outcome of the trial. The princesses will also face challenges, and together you must find harmony to succeed. Lyra smiled, full of energy. This is it, Kale. Show us all you have learned. I believe you can do this. Sora's gaze was sharp. This trial will reveal intentions and feelings. Your actions must be honest and thoughtful, not only for yourself but for those around you. Nima's voice was calm. Observe carefully. The heart is complex. Courage, trust, and understanding are all part of it. Only by balancing these can you succeed. A golden light surrounded the platform, and the floor beneath them transformed into a landscape filled with challenges. Rivers of glowing water, floating stones, and strange creatures appeared, creating a path that twisted and turned. At the end, a glowing tree with silver leaves awaited. Its branches reached toward the sky, and in its center was a shining crystal. Voice echoed, "The heart chooses the path. Only by understanding each other and acting together can you reach the crystal. The bonds you have built will guide you. Doubt, fear, or selfishness will lead you astray." Kale stepped forward carefully. He looked at the princesses. "We must face this together. Trust each other and act with care." Lyra nodded, stepping onto the first glowing stone. "Follow my lead if you are unsure. I will help guide us safely." Sora observed the obstacles ahead. Move deliberately. Watch each other. Every step matters. Nima added quietly, "Balance courage with thought. Protect each other, and you will succeed." As they moved through the landscape, challenges appeared. A river of glowing water blocked the path. Kale noticed that the currents reflected their emotions. If they panicked, the water became turbulent. Kale took a deep breath and calmed himself. He spoke to the princesses. "Stay calm. Think carefully, and the river will allow us to pass." Together, they crossed the river safely. Lyra laughed softly. "It worked. Our emotions shaped this world." Sora gave a small smile. Awareness and control are powerful tools. You are learning quickly, Kale. Further along, floating stones shifted and rotated in complicated patterns. Kale realized that each princess's guidance could stabilize the stones. Lyra's optimism lifted them higher. Sora's careful observation prevented missteps, and Nima's calm presence balanced the entire path. Kale spoke aloud. We need to synchronize. Step carefully when I say, and trust each other completely. They moved together, adjusting to the stone's changes. At one point, a stone wobbled dangerously. Kale caught Lyra's hand and steadied her. Sora provided guidance, and Nima offered reassurance. They reached the next stage safely. Finally, they approached the silver-leaved tree. Its branches formed a maze, and the crystal in its center shimmered like a sun. A final challenge appeared. Reflections of Kale, Lyra, Sora, and Nima appeared in the crystal. Showing their choices, fears, and feelings, the voice spoke to claim. The crystal, Kale must make a choice that reflects understanding, compassion, and wisdom. The princesses will also show their hearts. Only by harmony and honesty will the trial end successfully. Kale stepped forward and looked at the crystal. He saw his reflection, filled with courage, trust, and love for the princesses. Then he saw each princess, and their reflection showed uncertainty and hope. He understood what he needed to do. He spoke softly. This crystal belongs to all of us. It is not mine alone. It represents our shared courage, trust, and bond. I cannot take it for myself. Because our strength comes from working together. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes bright. Kale, that is exactly what I feel. We are stronger together. Sora nodded. Your choice shows understanding, thoughtfulness, and respect. That is true wisdom. Nima's calm smile appeared. Harmony and care guide the heart. You have learned this lesson well, Kale. Kale reached toward the crystal, and together the princesses touched it. Light filled the chamber, warm and bright. The crystal lifted from the tree and floated above them, sending shimmering rays across the palace. The trial was complete. King Torn appeared, his silver eyes shining with approval. Kale has completed the trial of the heart. He has demonstrated understanding, compassion, courage, and wisdom. He has earned the respect and trust of the princesses and shown that the heart guides the mind and spirit when choices are made with honesty and care. The princesses smiled at Kale. Lyra laughed joyfully. We did it together, Kale. This is incredible. Sora's serious expression softened completely. You have proven yourself in every trial. Your courage and understanding are genuine. Nima stepped forward. The lessons of these trials will remain with you all. You have learned to trust, protect, and act with heart. That is a rare gift. Kale bowed respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty, princesses. I could not have succeeded without all of you. Together, we overcame every challenge. King Torn's voice softened. Kale, you have shown the best qualities of humanity, courage, wisdom, compassion, and trust. You have faced the trials of Varelia with heart and mind united. You are ready for what comes next. The princesses walked with Kale through the palace gardens. Lyra's laughter and energy brightened the paths. Sora's thoughtful observation guided them carefully, and Nima's calm presence kept them balanced. Kale realized that their bonds were stronger than ever, built on shared experiences, challenges, and understanding. That evening, the palace celebrated, music filled the halls, and the people of Varelia cheered. Kale felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had grown through the trials, learning not only skill and courage but the importance of heart and connection. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Kale stood with the princesses on a balcony overlooking the city. We did it, he said quietly. Lyra laughed. Yes, and I have never had such an adventure. Sora nodded. You have proven that trust and courage are powerful. I respect you greatly. Nima smiled. This journey has taught us all the value of heart, wisdom, and unity. We will not forget it. Kale looked at the three princesses and felt a deep gratitude. He had entered Varelia as a visitor, but through the trials, he had become part of something greater. Together, they had faced fear, built trust, and learned the strength of compassion. King Torn watched from his chambers. Kale has shown that humanity is capable of greatness when heart and mind work together. The princesses have found a friend, a guide, and someone who can face challenges with courage and understanding. The future of Varelia is bright with this bond. The palace glowed under the moonlight, filled with peace, hope, and joy. Cale had completed the final trial, and with it, he had discovered the true power of heart, courage, and trust. The journey had ended, but the friendships and lessons would last forever. Cale smiled, ready to face the world ahead, knowing that together with the princesses, anything was possible. The trials of Aurelia had shown him not only his own strength, but the value of understanding, compassion, and unity.